Let me start off by saying I'm not a psychologist. This is just what helped me and things that I've come to realize in my own kind of search and trying to navigate my own mind, which is a minefield. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking back in here at my channel. On my first video, I mentioned that I thought positive thinking sucks, and some people asked me about that, so I thought I'd do a video on it. Let me clarify, I don't necessarily think positive thinking sucks. I don't think that negative thinking is the way to go either. I think, in my experience, that maybe positive thinking has served me in some ways, but I think it's probably not served me in more ways. My issue has been going about it in the wrong way. Positive thinking for me was very fairy tale-y. Very fairy tale-y? Fairy tale-ish. Fairy tale-like. It was like fairy tale. A lot of my positive thinking was future-based. And I think that's a mistake because you lose out on what's going on right now and actually being grateful for what you have. I actually ran across an article on a study on the Journal of Psychology. Journal. What the heck is it called? Journal of Psychological Science. Basically, the study took a group of people. They would gauge themselves as to whether they were they had high self-esteem or low self-esteem and how they felt about themselves, that kind of thing. And then they did studies on like showing them different kind of images and giving compliments, and they found that people who already had a pretty high self-esteem benefited from positive affirmations. Positive affirmations for people who did not necessarily have a high regard for themselves actually backfired. So if you struggle at all with anxiety or depression or just ambivalent, that was the other thing. If you're ambivalent about yourself. Basically, if you're a normal person, positive affirmations will often backfire on you and cause you to actually feel worse than you did before you were thinking all great about yourself or pretending to think great about yourself. It says the researchers asked people with reported low self-esteem to recite the following affirmation: I'm a lovable person. They then measured these people's moods and their feelings about themselves across the board. The group with the low self-esteem felt worse after being made to recite the positive affirmation. On the other hand, people with reported high self-esteem felt better. It's basically what I just said. They found that the people with the negative self-views would rather interact with someone who did not give them positive feedback and rather kind of reaffirmed their views on themselves, the negative views on themselves. And I think it's not a situation where it's like, I would rather have my friend tell me I'm ugly than tell me I'm beautiful or whatever. I think it's more of like the people with negative self-views would rather interact with somebody who seemed more objective and wasn't just trying to pump them up. So the moral of the story is, if you really love someone, just insult them. Please don't do that. I think a lot of the issue with positive thinking comes from the fact that it just serves to whitewash a negative belief system you have in yourself. And I think a lot of times we don't realize we have a very long-held infrastructure of beliefs about how the world works, how we work, who we are, what we're like, how valuable we are. And if we have those long-held beliefs and we try to just slap on a Band-Aid that says, I am a lovable and amazing person, everyone loves me, and you get up and say that every day, I don't think that does anything. And according to the study, what it actually does is causes you more anxiety, because as soon as you say that, your brain automatically clicks in to give you all the reasons why that's not true, because you have that overwhelming belief system that's there saying, that's not right. You can't just force yourself to believe something that you don't think is true. You have to first address those negative self-beliefs that you already have about yourself and about life and about whatever. I think it's helpful to take some time to sit and reflect, especially if you're having a moment where you're feeling anxious, to sit and think and question that thought. Why are you thinking that? Why do you think that? Is this true? And quite often enough, when I've done that for myself, I can very quickly realize that that's a ridiculous thought and that's not true at all. And then it kind of like resets things for you. So that's I'm not being negative with myself nor positive. I'm just saying, okay, this automatic thought I'm having isn't actually true. And it kind of resets things to a more neutral balance. And by going more neutral, your brain doesn't automatically want to fight that because it's not so far apart. Whoops. So going from feeling really negative to trying to go outrageously positive, the gap is too big there for your brain to accept that jump. So it's better to just inch your way up, mind the gap. So neutral is a great way to do that. So if you're a D student, I don't think it's helpful to wake up every morning and say,
I am an amazing A+ student and I'm on my way to Harvard.
I mean, you could be on your way to Harvard if you get your grades up and you want to go to Harvard. I don't know. I think it would be more helpful to study. I think it would be more helpful to go neutral and be real with yourself. I can do better. I can study more, and it's in my past when I've studied more, I've done better. So that way you're not trying to jump from here to here. So as soon as you're mid-jump from here to here, your brain's like, no. Not to say that I don't think you should be trying to work your way up the scale. My point is, I don't think you can jump from A to Z. I think you need to go from A, B, C, D, E. So basically, I just think our human brains are really extremely complex. There's much more to it than just saying a positive affirmation or thinking positively, because of the way our brains works. The way our brains works. Our brains work. I think there's some tactics that we can use that a lot of people aren't aware of or haven't thought of. It's either you're a pessimist or you're an optimist. And I think that there's a middle ground that we can investigate more that might be more helpful. Thank you guys so much for checking out my video. I hope you got something out of it. That's my goal for making the videos. If you did, please hit the like button. And if you haven't already, please subscribe so you can get updates on when new videos are posted. Leave a comment. Let me know what you thought about the video. So yeah, thanks. Hey guys. Hey guys. Deeper pit of despair. Did for Harvard. Well, that's dumb. There I go again. Here at my channel. Now, saying to myself, saying, blah, 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 blah. Explanation. Realistic. It's much more realistic to go the realistic route. That makes a lot of sense. Because that, knocking everything over. For today, blah, 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 blah. Because that, so, stop starting with so. If I really, thank you so much, time. Thank you so much, time. Thank you, time, for existing. It doesn't exist. Time does not exist. It's a human, man-made concept. Why? I'm so tired of my chair squeaking. What's his name? It's not what it sounds like. Screw it. I'm just gonna look up Wikipedia.